Hello, this is Jim Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. Affirmative action hurts Asian Americans, but the left just drugs from nypost.com by Ruin My Circle Jerk, and I think that's true. The thing is that affirmative action is definitely not too good, and I think we need to remember that. And the thing is, affirmative action is always there's always going to be some people who benefit and some people who don't benefit, and the problem is that no one can be all entirely equal or equitable. Some people are going to be preferred over other people, and that's just how life is. Life is unfair. And we can in searching for equality or even equity, I would say we are making a mistake because by trying to make life fair for everyone, it makes it fair for no one because we know what is the metric of fair that because life is some people are just gonna be unlucky, and that's just life. Sadly, we just can't make everyone be equal because you just can't. That's the delusion of communism. You can't have everyone be on the same level all the time. And that's just how life is. Sadly. Then we have the fall of pride can't come soon enough from Spike, and I posted that, and I said, interesting take from an openly gay author. I agree. People are tired of how corporate it all is these days, and how you can't disagree with anything at all without being labeled as a Nazi. I really like the final paragraph. It sums up my issues very nicely. It really feels like it's not about acceptance anymore, but almost more so like worship. That's my biggest problem with it. It's like you're just putting the pride flag everywhere, and it's getting increasingly aggressive. You can't even have the old rainbow pride flag anymore. It's increasingly just corporate as well. You're flying in front of all the big businesses for especially during June, and yeah, and my problem really isn't with the pride flag, more so how big businesses are using and governments are using IDPOL to their advantage, especially after Occupy Wall Street, people falling for it as genuine support. The thing is, it's become kind of like this divisive religion we can't question at all. Then we have Ukraine's long-awaited military offensive against Russia has begun from NPR.org by Harumph, and I thought this was supposed to be a defensive war, but now it's apparently offensive. So we'll see how far this goes. Hopefully it ends soon, but we'll see how it goes because it's just an endless war. It's going to be an endless war kind of, and we'll see how far it goes. An anti-porn app put him in jail and his family under surveillance. An archive link from Rump, and it's an archive link to Wired. And I think that's interesting. Court used an app called Covenant Eyes to survey the family of a man released on bond. And he's back in jail on tech misuse may be to blame. This is how scary it's getting. They'll be able to track you all for your technology. And if you use technology incorrectly in a way that those in positions of power see, even if they're private individuals who just have power through the technology being used, they'll be able to make your life miserable, even just because of how centralized it is. So that's the scary thing. It's going to be like you're not going to be able to send it all without being censored by those in positions of power, and you probably won't be able to eat any food. You probably will have your all your refrigerator locked. That's something we'll get to later, and you probably won't be able to have anything without and your car won't probably start. So that's the scary thing that's coming up. Next we have The Great Grift, how billions in COVID-19 relief aid was stolen or wasted from NBCW.com by Harumph, and yeah. Like the top comment, it was nothing more than a power grab. I would agree with that. It was just kind of a power grab, and I think yeah, and it just threw all the money away, and now look what this happening. We're getting to the social credit system. And I think this might have been definitely a ploy from COVID to do that. What's the difference between party and reality? A few years by showing that. That she tweeted how she couldn't open her refrigerator because she did a racism on Twitter or something else interpreted as racism. And I said, you know, it's scary times we live. Because it was a response to a delivery driver on Amazon misheard an automated doorbell for racism and reported nobody was home. Amazon turned off all the lights, shut the entire smart home down before it even started its investigation. Law enforcement by a corporation with no due process. This is how the corporate authoritarianism is. You'll be able to lock down by the government corporation. We're working in lockstep, and you won't be able to challenge anything without them coming after you for it. It'll be entirely legal because they're working together. And I said, scary times we live in makes me want to live off the grid or go feral. That's my thoughts there. Communists versus anarchists. Cuba, China, Russia, Vietnam, Venezuela versus Spain, Rohavia, Free Territory, Ukraine, Paris, Patagonia by Hold Off Hunger, and that is a meme of the communist or the sad Doge with the crying hat, and the anarchists are the Chad Doge with the red, black, and red hat. And I think that's good. So I would agree with that. You can't have these strong centralized governments. You gotta have more chaotic near anarchic governments. I would agree with that. Those probably better. Extremely prude people are actually hypersexual and see sexuality and everything across to our special hour frauds by motherfucking Hank. And I think the thing is that sexuality, the LGBT community is increasingly open about pushing sexuality, and if you call them out, they'll say, "Oh, you're the one who's actually hypersexual." So that's the problem there, I would say. Sectarianism and goose stepping for party lines, and that's by Chub Grub. I just think, I agree with that. We shouldn't be doing tribalism and say we have to realize that both of the major parties are corrupt. Pretty much everyone's corrupt, and we gotta get to the root of that corruption by, I'd say, dissolving the governments of the federal, state, and local level, and replacing it with a voluntary one, so they can say if they're okay with corruption or not. And because right now we're forced to participate in this corrupt government. I don't think people should be forced to participate in something, especially if it's corrupt as the U.S. government is currently. It's hilarious to me that some people think this dude is anti-imperialist, and it's a post by Kage blah blah blah, and that's a tweet from Austin. Trump, when I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil, and I think Trump isn't really anti-imperialist. So I would agree there. He's just another one of the regime. They're going after him. I think it's just theater. Even if they get him, it might still just be theater. But the thing is that he's really just one of the regime. They're just going after him so they can boost his persecution complex and say, oh, he's actually different. Well, he's not different. I would say it's just all theater. DeSantis complains about weaponization of state power. He should re-examine his own record from Reason.com by Harumph. I'd agree with that. DeSantis is kind of doing overreach, I would say. I definitely kind of I agree more so with DeSantis on some cultural policies and a lot of the Democrats, but I definitely think they are definitely probably oversteps. I think the state shouldn't be determining what people learn in school. I think the school should teach whatever it wants, even if it's wrong, because the school is. I think we should just get rid of the schools. Personally, I don't care for the idea of the school. I think kids should just be learning in the wilderness how to survive in the wilderness rather than learn school that will just is more about pushing narratives out on them. I would say, and agendas. The U.S. is openly stockpiling dirt and all its citizens. A newly declassified report from the Office of the Director of the National Intelligence reveals the federal government is buying troves of data about Americans from Wired.com by Harumph. And yeah, I'd agree. It's the thing is that it's the government and the corporations working in locksteps to get around the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Not that they need to do that anyway. They pretty much have disregarded that already. And the thing is you're increasingly just trapped in this technocracy where where you will never have any power because those in positions of corporate or government authoritarianism have the power, and so that's why we have to stand up and speak for and speak for free speech and free expression as long as we have the ability to. Because I have a big feeling we're not going to be able to soon. And I think that's a scary thought, and it just kind of. It just kind of scares me how the future will be. I don't think free speech will be a thing in the future, and that's just terrifying. That's how it is, I guess. So we'll stay. Affirmative action is racist against Asians. It's time for SCOTUS to overturn it from Newsweek.com by Sharon Westergaard. We kind of talked about that earlier, about their post from earlier. So yeah, I'd agree with that still, yeah. Then we have Chris Rufo's War Against Woke Institutions by John Stossel. And I'd agree with that, I think, I like this one guy's got Muad Dib. I'm bored with these people and the absurdities left-wing narratives pushed by the HR departments. Then they fall off a cliff when they start talking being all about rioting. It sucks that we can't get people who are troubling inclusive strategies. We can be more absurd. I guess, it's more of a fence-sitting option, I personally think, I don't want people pushing narratives in society. And, right now, society is being used, all these HR departments are being used to push narratives. And that's why, and everything's being used to push a narrative these days. It's important to really know that. So, you gotta think for yourself. Don't let them push a narrative on you, and stand up for free speech and free expression and thinking for yourself. The Ayn Rand Institute, The Social Justice War on Science from YouTube.com by 94 Impact. Well, they're not the people who made it. That was actually the Ayn Rand Institute. Yeah, so they were the ones who posted 94 Impact, though. Yeah, I agree with that. Social justice has kind of overtaken science. You're increasingly being taught that being pushed that biological sex isn't a thing anymore. And the thing is, it's just completely sold out social justice. And I think we're seeing that now, and hopefully people can step up against it, but I really doubt it, since social justice is really the ones who are controlling the narrative at this point, I would say. Private prisons don't cause overcrowded prisons. From Common Sense Soapbox, and I posted that, and I said, I personally don't care for the ideas of the prison or the police. They are both fundamentally authoritarian, but we need some way to enforce the law. If it happens to be for private enterprise, I really don't see much of a difference than if it is not. That's my thoughts there. And then I posted a tweet of mine. If people want to form collectivist governments on their own accord, they should be able to do so, but they shouldn't be forced to do so. I said that'll probably be the basis of my 2032 campaign. We need to abolish the forced collectivism of the federal, state, and local governments by abolishing them all and replacing them with voluntary ones. And Clorox responded, you're advocating for simplest makes feudalism at best. And I said, ultimately, that's how the world works. People give the U.S. government legitimacy most because it has monopoly on force, for example. He says the U.S. government is equivalent to feudalism rewards. I said the U.S. government is in the warlord, laughed my fucking ass off, Try telling that to the countless countries it has invaded, bombed, or has military bases in. The thing is, the U.S. government, I would say, is almost inherently feudalistic or warlordish, but, you just can't call them out on it without being seen as a crazy person, so that's my thoughts there. You were warned this would happen. LP of Colorado will not run candidates and will instead support GOP, and that was LP Colorado. LP Colorado tweeted, so they said they won't run spoiler candidates. I said I think that's a bad decision in my opinion. I do think the Mountain West Republicans are some of the more libertarian ones. That's also why the Blake Masters endorsement happened. But they're still fundamentally normies. We can't have these normies taken over. They already have enough power. We got to have altists like myself have getting rid of ideas like getting rid of forced collectivism and supporting voluntarism. And right now, I don't think the GOP, even the most libertarian ones, are for that right now. We got to go really full autistic, I say, and that's what we need to do right now, I would say. And, right now, but, I guess, LP Colorado is the private organization wants to do this. I personally don't trust GOP, even though how libertarian they are, maybe some exceptions like Rand Paul or Thomas Massey, but we'll see how it plays out for them. Texas woman killed by Republican Christmas terrorist by Chi-Town.com for Chi-Town 20 from Axiom.com. Texas woman killed after she was shot at Alton Gay slur per report. This is more of an agenda post, I would say. It's every Republican's probably a Christian terrorist in Chi-Town's mind, I would say. Pritzker signed Libertarian bill preventing authoritarian Christian Republican book bans in Illinois from EriesNewsNow.com. What's the actual headline? Pritzker signed bill preventing book bans in Illinois. I think, I personally think, I personally think, I'm against book bans, but I don't think we should be giving penalties to kindergartners. And that seems like the direction we're headed. Rare and unprecedented acknowledgement by a head of state of Western power, most foreign interference and spying on the French government is conducted by the most authoritarian regime of the United States, not by Russia, China, Russia, or Iran. I've encountered this when I was in government. And that's a Reddit post from, a cross post from the Chomsky Reddit. And it's a French representative, I'll see what his name is, Francois Fillon. And he says that, I definitely think the United States is bad, but I don't know if they're as bad as China, Russia, or Iran, but there might as well just be birds of a feather. I kind of agree with that there. Poppy seeds trigger child neglect investigations. Drug tests for new moms are unnecessarily non-consensual, argues ACLU from Reason.com. I agree with that. You shouldn't be forced to drug test if you don't want to, I would say. Montana kids sue state, arguing its fossil fuels violates constitutional rights from MCFW.com by Harumph. I personally would disagree with that, but I don't know how fossil fuels can violate your constitutional rights. Maybe if you're really like a Greta Thunberg type. But, if the kids want to stand up for themselves and say that, I think they should be able to. I think I'm all for people expressing themselves and doing whatever they want as long as the NAP isn't being violated. If employee is fired for off-job political speech, can he be denied unemployment compensation from Reason.com? I would say no, but I guess you could make the argument that they could be. So, that's never one by Harumph. Why legal immigration is nearly impossible from Cato.org, everyone by Harumph. I'd agree with that. Legal immigration is hard, so that's why so many people do it illegally, I would say. You see, right now it's kind of hard to do it, much harder to do it legally than illegally. U.S. sending $325 million package of military aid to Ukraine from ACDFW.com. Probably not the last aid they'll send, I'll say. Once again, Supreme Court suggests that First Amendment must stand aside for intellectual property by Texture.com by Harumph. I disagree with that. We gotta stand up for intellectual property. we gotta stand up for people doing whatever they want for intellectual property, because intellectual property is, I personally am always on the side of, we should endorse remix culture and let people do whatever they want with whatever characters they want, because when you put your characters out in public, I would say they're no longer yours. They are the people. They are, a public character, I would say. James Comer doesn't seem to care if Biden probe evidence is legit. The House Oversight Chairman acknowledged the Republican Party doesn't have a lot, from NewRepublic.com by Kage, blah, blah, blah. Of course, New Republic being a very left-leaning publication. I personally think, we should be doing the Biden probes. I think we should be probing all leaders like Trump, Biden, Obama. I'm personally fine with it. I always think we should try and hold all authority accountable. And, that's my thoughts there. Should private organizations be able to discriminate based on race by rumor my circle jerk? I said, I would say so, but I would not support any organization that did. Arizona Supreme Court upholds clergy privilege in Mormon help line abuse case from QWord.org by Donald Key. I definitely think, we shouldn't be giving anyone any special privileges, but increasingly people are pushing for it if they're like our LGBTQ or a minority or a racial minority. So I think that's important to remember as well. Playing sexually graphic and violent music in the workplace commits discrimination court rules, NBCNews.com. By Harumph. I think, we should, if people want to see something as discrimination, they should be able to, but I don't think we should have discrimination being formally defined, because I think that's too authoritarian. We can't have the state formally defining words. That's my thoughts on that issue, and I think that's going to be it for this episode, and I think I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.